Hey folks, hope everybody had a good weekend and a safe sailing. Been giving a little bit of thought, and I've been watching some of the posts on quite a few of the social networks I'm on, of course. And the biggest thing I see come up a lot has to do with fear. Yep, fear. Being afraid of something. Being scared to succeed, and being afraid of new things, and being afraid to try new things and step outside of the shell or think outside of the box, as it were. So I'd like to talk a little bit about fear, and this one may get a little long-winded, so you may want to watch part of it and then come back to it later. I may not, I may blow away the 10-minute maximum I set for myself. So,
police reported ahead.
What do you think about fear? What do you think fear is? Where do you think it comes from? Well, fear, most of the time, comes from environmental and societal programming. If you think about a child, and I'm talking toddlers, kids that are not necessarily old enough to have built any fears yet, and are just really learning how to walk and climb and move. They basically don't know what to be afraid of. So we as adults, stroke parents, stroke grandparents, whatever your title is, you're an adult, kinda, ish, maybe. We start the fear programming. Stay away from the stove, it'll burn you. Stay away from the fireplace, that'll burn you. Don't go out on the road, you get your ass run over. Fear programming. It comes from environmental and societal programming. Well, for thousands of years, Christian philosophy and Christian ideology has tried to teach humans to be afraid of sex, to stay away from sex. It's evil. Blah. That's another topic. But it goes back to the ideology and the almost belief system and religion of fear. There are people out there that are so afraid of being afraid that they form phobias of spiders, of snakes, and there are even fears of leaving the house. And no, I don't remember all of the names to all of the phobias, but it's not the point. But we do know a phobia is something, someone, an action, or an event that a person has become so afraid of that it has become a mental illness, which in some cases give way to physical illnesses. So fear, though certain fears are healthy, but I like to put some fears off of respect. Take fire, for example. I don't fear fire. I know the good and the bad that fire can be used for, but I'm not afraid of fire. I do respect fire.
Watch out.
And
Vehicle
its
stopped on shoulder ahead.
So, with that in mind, looking back again at the beginning of the conversation, what do you think about fear? What are you afraid of, and why? Are you afraid of snakes? Why? Snakes typically want to get away from humans. Now, there are some breeds that
Police reported ahead.
that are aggressive enough to chase a human, but 99% of all snakes want to get away from human beings. They strike or they lash out when they feel in danger. And I use snakes because it's a very common
Watch out.
fear
Vehicle stopped on shoulder ahead.
between human beings. So, if you sit and you write down, and I had a client one time that was so afraid of being afraid that they made themselves afraid of everything. So I had them sit and write down everything they are afraid of and why. And out of, if I remember correctly, a little over 100 things, events, places, and people that this individual was afraid of, only one of them had a viable reason as to why they were afraid of it. And that was the fear of spiders, because they had gotten bit when they were a child by a brown recluse. Now, that is a fear caused by action. Kind of like some kids grow up to be afraid of dogs because they were attacked or bitten by a dog when they were younger. So this moves into the facing of fears. How do you face your fears? Well, the first thing you have to do is admit that you have a fear or multiple fears. To admit that you're afraid of something, and then you have to look at the why. And the why is the hardest thing there is to look at. Me, I have a fear of heights. I face them, I deal with them. I can go up on a roof and repair tiles. I can go up on a roof and do things I need to do. But there are some heights that I will not deal with. And I know where it came from. And I know what the cause is. I don't have a fix for it. I've tried to fix. Didn't work. So I deal with it. And I don't allow myself to be put in a position to have to deal with that fear. So I know what my limitations are. But for those who are afraid of social interaction because of major social interaction usage, pain, and mistreatment, that's a hard one to get over. Those who have a fear of even getting out of the house, walking out the door, will send them into a panic attack. That's another one that's very hard to get over. So dealing with fears have to be dealt with one at a time. Now, when I was growing up, the biggest thing I heard was face your fears and deal with it. If a horse throws you off, irregardless of whether or not you're afraid of the horse, get up and get back on. Well, you're absolutely right. If a horse bucks you off, get up, dust yourself off, take inventory of the body to be sure nothing's broke, and get back on the animal. This allows you to conquer that fear, to get past it, to get on and move on past that fear. And step one, for those of you who are wanting to fight your fears and get past them, step one is to sit down and write down or open a Word document and type out all of your fears first. Don't worry about trying to figure out right this minute why you are afraid of whatever it is you're afraid of. But type out every fear that you have. Like, for example, afraid of being alone, afraid of being around people, afraid of failing those around us, afraid of spiders, snakes, insects, afraid of water, afraid of flying, afraid of heights, afraid of being buried alive. The fears are endless, and they go on and on and on in the definitions of fear or afraid of. Write them down, jot them down. Then you can begin to work through them. You can go back to the top of the page and you can say, I am afraid of water because, and whatever that answer is. I'm afraid of heights because, and whatever that answer is. And if you need help or assistance getting through these fears, and you're not comfortable dropping me a line, reach out to a counselor or someone that you're close to and show them your list. They're not going to think you're crazy. They're not going to think you need to be committed. They're not going to think you need to be on antipsychotic drugs or anything of that nature. But they might look at you with a newfound just respect that you're able to admit you have these fears, no matter how real or ridiculous or whatever they may be. If it's a fear, it's real to you. Now don't make shit up, okay? I mean, seriously, come on. If you make stuff up that you're afraid of, all you're doing is hurting yourself. And I've got these people out there that are real heavy into hypotheatrics. Oh my God, I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of that, and oh my God, this, and I can't touch that, and germaphobes and what have you. Well, germaphobes and OCDs are a totally different situation other than fear off of fear. And different topic. But remember what I said. Write down your fears. Jot them down. Take a look at them. And if it takes you a week or two to write them all out, to think about them and get them all down, and then if it takes you another week or two to go back up and the why is the most important thing. Because the more fears you have without reason, those are the easiest fears to conquer. Because if you're afraid of something with absolutely no reason whatsoever, not something you can't remember, not a fear from a repressed memory, and not a fear because it's something that you just can't remember what happened, though you know for a fact something did happen. I'm talking about a non-explainable fear, something that you cannot explain. And some of them could come from past lives. Again, topic for another video. But fears in this life can be dealt with. Most of them can be conquered. There are those that cannot. And it's not cannot because it simply can't be. It's cannot because you make the decision not to do what is required to conquer that fear. So keep that in mind. Jot down those fears, take a look at them, work on them. And if you need my assistance, drop me a line, let me know. Put your comments in the lines below. I look forward to hearing from you. Have a great day and be safe out there.